So now let's go ahead and look at the total per person calculation. Let's go to util. Might as well just create the function here right away. Let's go ahead and say fun, calculate. So what we're going to need here, we're going to need the total bill, which is going to be a double, and we're going to need a split by as such, which is going to be an int, right? And we're going to need tip percentage, which is also going to be an int. And we're going to return a double as such. Okay, so the calculations. Let me put that in that line. Voila. So here I'm going to just create a val called bill, and this I'm going to pass called bill, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually call the calculate total created at the top here. Okay, and then I'm going to pass all the parameters or arguments that are needed. In this case, it's going to be total bill, and then tip percentage. It's going to be tip percent or tip percentage as such, and then let's see, split by is going to be equal to split by. So at this point here, the value we have is the calculate total tip. It's not a bill yet, it's just a tip, right? To make it a bill, a total bill, I'm going to add our total bill value that we're going to be passing in, right? This one, because we used inside here to calculate total tip as we have created at the top here. It's not until we add the total bill again to the tip that we calculated, that's going to be the entire tip. That's going to be the entire bill for the meal. Okay, so what we want to return is going to be, in this case, I'm going to say bill, and we're going to divide this by split by. Makes sense. So once we have a total bill, we divide it by split by, which is going to be, could be 1, 2, 3, 10, or 100, and so forth. So this is what we're going to use in our main activity, but where are we going to use that? Well, still inside of our slider where we calculate total tip, right? This is happening every time we slide left and right, increasing or decreasing the total tip percentage or the tip percentage. You can see we're calculating the actual total tip. So at the same time, we will have that value. So we can use that, of course. We can just say something like this. I'm going to say total per person state that value. We haven't created this. I'm going to set that to our calculate total per person. So total bill in this case, total bill that value, bill state that value. And then, I'm going to make this to a double, right? To double. Okay. And then split by, I'm going to say split by state, that value. We're getting this value here we created earlier, right? And then we're going to pass a tip percentage, which is tip percentage, like this. All right. And again, we're going to have to create this state at the top. Remember. And this is going to be a double. So I'm going to say mutable state of a double. So 0.0 to start with. Let's go back to where this is being called, which is down here. Okay. So total per person now is going to be called where? Well, if you remember, total per person is going to be here on the top, total per person. Now, let's go up and we can see where we're calling total per person. Right. Total per person is actually inside of a top header. And the reason why, if you have over, you can see we have that total per person, which is a double. We're just passing a default value 134. So now I can say total per person is going to be equal to total per person dot value, just like that. So I'm passing this argument I'm passing our total per person state, the value, as the argument for total per person and top header, which is going to change this value, right? Let's go ahead and run this to see if this is true. Okay, so in the beginning, everything is 0. Let's put 100. It's a nice number. And let's go ahead and change this to 2. If I start doing like this, right, sliding, you can see now the value is changing. So if I go to, let's say, 16% of 100 is $16. And we have 2 people. So 116 divided by 2 people is going to be 58 each, I believe. If we go ahead and increase this, nothing has changed yet because we haven't created that function, or we're not calling the function to calculate, to recalculate, as you see here, the total per person, which we'll do in a second. But if I move around, you can see everything is working fine. Okay, if I increase the number, you can see the number is also changing there. Okay. Very good. So now let's go ahead and tie this together with split, because we want to also be able, since we have enter bill and we have a percentage, of course, as we change, we want to be able to dynamically change the total per person top header here, this value. So that means if we want this to also calculate, right, let's go to where our buttons are created, round icon button is here. So on click, we have this if statement here. So we say that split that value is going to be equal to either incrementing or decrementing. In this case, we are decrementing. Only if the value split by state is greater than 1. It makes sense. We've talked about this. We don't want 0 split here. That would make no sense, right? In fact, I can put all of this in one line. Okay, it's kind of hard to see, but it works. Next, inside of our on click here, we want to also calculate or call the calculate total per person, which in this case is going to be exactly what we have here, right? We're just calling everything once again. So I'm just going to cut this, copy that, and go right afterwards here, paste it all in, and we should be good. And the same goes to if we are decrementing. So there it is. Now, if we go ahead and run this, okay, let's go ahead and put 100 again, our favorite number. Okay, so let's see. If I start adding people, you can see it straight right away starts calculating total per person, right? It makes sense. So if 2 people are not paying or not adding a tip, right? 2 people, total per person, here's total per person is going to be $50 on a $100 bill. Go back, goes to 100. The more you add, and voila. Okay, very good. Now, in this case here, if I start moving this to, it's going to recalculate everything. As you can see, we're adding a tip, which means the value should increase, right, per person. And there you have it. Okay. If I go to 1 person, just to make sure everything is working, it's going to be 150 per person. This person, in this case, just 1 person, at $50 tip amount. And then if I increase, it's going to go and reduce as well. And of course, if I decrease the amount, it's still working. So now you've seen how to put together the user interface and of course the logic behind it. Again, there are many different ways in which we can actually abstract out these calculations to make it even better. But the main idea here, it was to show you how to integrate the user interface, how to create the user interface using composables, pieces, and so forth, and then add the value, and then of course use the mutable states, to remember to give and maintain the state of the values that are changing. Okay, that's an important concept in Compose, as we will continue to see. So the thing I would like you to do is to make this even better. Go ahead and look at ways to perhaps change the way this all looks, or you can create different kinds of calculators so you can practice at least how to put together the user interface, how to connect things through variables, in this case through mutable states and so forth. So now that we have the calculation working, what we can do, let's go back to our invalidate state or validate state there. We had commented that out because we're just testing things out. So if we go down here, let's go ahead and uncomment this as such, and we should have a complete picture if you run. All right, you can see the first time we run, there's nothing there. It's not until we add something. Again, 100 seems to be the best number. And I can start playing with this and change, right? 50%, reduce the amount of people, and go from there. Okay. Now, if I remove all of that value, let's see. And you can see everything is hidden until I put something.